Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to another live stream with me. This is very exciting, as always. Every single time, it's very, very exciting. So if you're tuning in, please let me know where you are watching from. I'm going to be looking at the comments all day today, so really hope that everyone can have a lot of value out of this session. So yeah, I'm just going to hang out here for a little bit and hopefully we'll get a few comments coming in soon. Awesome. Starting to see some people. Yeah, let me know. I know it's a Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon or or something wherever you guys are tuning in from. So awesome. Starting to get some people in here. So I've got a LinkedIn user. Sorry, I can't see where you're from, but Abe, welcome, man. Thank you so much for joining. All right, and we've got Manas from India. Awesome, welcome. Julio from Massachusetts. Excellent. Makram, Lisbon. This is awesome. Guys, awesome. Thank you again so much for tuning in to this session. And we'll just hang out for a little bit more just so more people can join the stream. Please comment. Let me know where you're coming from. Yeah, we'll just hang out here for a little bit. Oh, awesome. I've got a ton of people here. So Palash, thank you so much for tuning in. Brenna, thank you. Monica, great to see you. All right. Tofik from Algeria. What time is it over there right now? All right. Surav from Canada. We're really global again today. All right. Excellent. So I hope everyone's enjoying their weekend. Thank you again so much for tuning in on your Sunday and spending a bit of time with me today to talk about SQL. SQL, yeah, we're definitely going to be talking more about that. But all right, so let's jump into the topic for today. And today, this live stream is all about celebrating the launch of the 8-week SQL challenge. It's something that I've kind of just dreamt up and wanted to do something which was really special for the community, for the global data community, and really get people involved in learning SQL, being very socially active about it, and kind of spreading the word, because I feel sometimes that SQL is, it's kind of like a lot of people, when they go into their data career, they jump straight into a Python or an R, or they might be doing some Excel as well. And SQL just doesn't really get as much love as it really deserves. So my initiative for the 8-week SQL challenge, it's in conjunction with the launch of my very first online course called Serious SQL. But essentially, I'm going to try and maintain a live blog where I'm going to be sharing every week for 8 weeks. I'm going to be sharing more case studies and lots of different data questions and bits and pieces. So anyone who's joining and starting their data career and want to kickstart their SQL journey can kind of come on and find out where all the best resources are, so I'm going to try and find some of Eric Weber's posts and collate all of the different places where you can learn SQL. I'm going to be creating some of my own case studies as well and putting them up there. So it's the cadence I've got in mind is about probably 1 post a week, maybe more. I'm going to be trying to share a lot of things that I find online too, which are related to SQL. But I hope everyone is really excited about this initiative for the 8-week SQL challenge. And one of the most important things I found, so doing the work and looking at the data and doing whatever you can to improve your skills is awesome. But one additional thing that I really wanted people to do as part of this initiative was to start sharing what you're learning with other people. So the most important thing about this 8-week SQL challenge is there's going to be a big community around it. So I've been very lucky to be supported by the Data with Danny community. At the moment, I think there's over 5,000 something, which is just absolutely incredible. For those of you who haven't been following me for too long, the story originated essentially last year around May. I wanted to reach out to a lot of people and try and provide some sort of mentorship and just some guidance for people in the data community. And it kind of just grew organically from there. And it's really amazing. And I find myself being so energized every time I get to chat with different people on the Slack group, replying to comments on LinkedIn and different things like that. I just get so much energy out of it. And I wanted to share this sort of passion and drive with every one of you who want to be part of this wider community and get that level of support. All right. So hopefully that covers a little bit about the 8-week SQL challenge. This week I've been busy preparing the Serious SQL course as well. So I didn't have as much time to complete everything as possible. But I do have a landing page. So if you jump on and look at 8weeksqlchallenge.com, I've just set up like a landing page for now. It's just in holding, but that's going to be the domain where I'm going to be providing a lot of those resources for free, absolutely free. And that's where we're going to try and make it like almost the hub of SQL on the internet. That's my big aim. So hopefully we can really make that happen, because I think that will be absolutely amazing. Okay, so at this stage, I've started getting some questions in the comments. So I'm going to try and cover some of them as well. So thank you so much for tuning in from all over the world. I think it's amazing. So Jody, thank you so much for tuning in. I learned Python and R first, but I spent my day in SQL. Looking forward to sprucing up my SQL skills. Absolutely. SQL people pronounce it as SQL or SQL. I've kind of just gone with at the moment, but it's absolutely mandatory when you're thinking about working in larger companies that have a lot of data, especially data in databases, because SQL is just the main way that we access data. But yeah, absolutely important. Also, we've got Tumi from South Africa also. Thank you so much. All right, Sam, I've got a question here. So would this cover anything around best practices when using other coding languages to integrate into SQL? This is a really, really great point. And I think for the 8-week SQL challenge, honestly, the challenge is more around the social aspect. And weekly, I think we can, people in the community should be posting about what they're learning. If not on a daily basis, every now and then, whenever you feel like it, whenever it's comfortable. I feel that everyone should have a very distinct focus on what they want to get out of this 8-week SQL challenge. So I'm going to be providing some of the case studies and some of the technical assessments, which might help with people's interviews and their skills in trying to do some problem solving. But I think when we think about the coding languages and integrating into SQL, it's almost very vast, because there's so many different languages that you could integrate into the SQL as well. So, but definitely I think I'll try and find some resources and best practices around doing the R and Python integration, because I think that's where a lot of folks are going to be needing that sort of support. So hopefully we can try and find something. I'm more than happy to publish some people's posts as well. So feel free to tag me and mention me wherever, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and I'm more than happy to go in there and share whatever I find, so we can really get a lot of eyeballs on good content for people to learn from. Okay. I saw a question from Tumi, but my scroll just went crazy. Okay. Are there any external tools to help with SQL? All right. So for me, this is my initiative. So of course, there's going to be people from the Serious SQL course and the students who have taken that course participating in the 8-week SQL challenge as well, which I think is awesome. I really think that there are lots and lots of online courses for SQL and external tools. What I'd recommend to everyone is to try and find the open source material and get onto that first, and try and really, there's a lot of free resources out there that you can learn from. And what I'm going to be doing is sharing a lot of those resources, as well as some paid options as well, and kind of give people the option of taking a look at through all those different things. And maybe other members in the community can kind of comment in and chip in with their reviews of different resources. so you can get a better view of what others think and their experiences. But this is most of it is going to be a community driven initiative. And I'm just going to be preparing some more materials to help out wherever I can too. Okay. Monica, thank you for the question. What is the hardest and the easiest thing to learn about SQL in your opinion? Okay, so let's start with probably the easiest thing. Um, I found that the syntax and the language, or at least some of the components of SQL, are really simple to pick up. The learning curve is not too steep. So we always see things like selecting from tables, doing where filters, doing group by aggregates, and different things like that. I think those are the sorts of skills which one can pick up really, really easily. And I think with those skills, it's more about repetition, and it's not really a threshold concept. Whilst I find for the hardest things to learn about SQL is actually going beyond running some of those functions and running some of those operations and thinking deeper about what you're actually doing with the data. So some of the most difficult things I found in practice is probably trying to join many, many different tables, but trying to keep a very high level view of what these data points mean, and trying to actually solve the problem that you've been tasked with. So I think that's probably the hardest thing. And one more thing that came to mind is probably time zone conversions is crazy. It doesn't matter if it's in SQL or any language. I always struggled with time zone conversions. All right, Ravit, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for your support. All right. Um, and he's mentioned there's a third pronunciation of SQL or SQL, which is squirrel. You can try and tune into Christina and find out more about that one. All right. Ms. Bar, thank you for your question. Please offer a Python challenge also. Oh, so for people who've been following me in the Data with Danny virtual data apprenticeship program, my plan was to kind of develop a set of courses to really give everyone almost like a mentorship and an internship experience, by sharing all the knowledge that I've gained throughout my experience in the data science world, and kind of try and create courses which mimic my experiences and the different problems that I've worked on. So Python is the next thing which is on my radar after the Serious SQL course. So it's been a really long time coming, but the next course that I'll be announcing soon is probably going to be something around data analytics, but with a strong focus on using both Python and R, because I feel that people should learn both of them. It shouldn't be a one or the other sort of thing. So yeah, just stay tuned, Misbah. I'll have a Python challenge for you soon, my man. Okay. Abdul, thank you so much. I think we should get some assistance in installing Docker. Yes, or else it's a waste of investing in the course. Yeah, so for the Serious SQL course, I've decided to run the entire course using a technology called Docker, which is essentially virtual machines or containers running on your computer without that kind of have everything pre-installed already. So the course is focused on PostgreSQL, forgot how to pronounce that, and it's using Docker Compose, and there's an interface that I'm using called SQLpad, which kind of gives you a front end which mimics the exact tooling that we might be using in the workplace. Yeah, there's honestly, when I was installing Docker on my Mac, it was really nice and simple. I think anything on Linux systems is relatively simple for installations. The problem always occurs when it's dealing with Windows. So I stole my dad's Windows computer to try and figure out how to almost bulletproof the installation process. But there's always going to be issues for that one. And I've worked with so many people trying to work through these barriers. So Abdul, I'll be with you soon, man. I hope there's not too much wasted time, but really installing Docker and getting that infrastructure up and ready is really, really valuable, not just for SQL and data analytics, but especially so for the machine learning and the data science components too. So it's definitely not a waste of time. Stick in there, hang in there. I know it must be really frustrating. So I'll be with you soon, man. Okay. So Mujtaba, thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in from Pakistan. All right. And Mayush, how deep will we be diving into SQL concepts? So my plan for the 8-week SQL challenge is to produce essentially the same sorts of case studies that I'll be producing exactly the same for the Serious SQL course. However, for the Serious SQL course, I go into a lot more depth into explaining the details of different concepts. The 8-week SQL challenge will be more about learning by doing, lots and lots of SQL questions. I'll also be providing the SQL solutions for it as well. I'm still deciding whether I'll do some video walkthrough of the solutions. I'll see how much time I have, but I really want to do that as well. Maybe like once a week, we can do at least 1 or 2 different solutions live, maybe on LinkedIn Live or YouTube around this time too. So in terms of how deep we'll be diving, I'm not 100% sure how deep we'll be diving in the 8-week SQL, but I will try and make some of the case studies might be from pretty basic all the way through to pretty intense and lots of code and lots of different concepts like probably tons of window function stuff, recursive CTEs, and a bit more of the advanced SQL toolkit that we really want to focus on. I think there's also a component, a lot of people have been asking me about query optimization. So how can we choose the right indexes? How do we optimize our queries so we can speed it up? How do we do partitions and different things like that? At the moment, I'm still finishing off that tutorial for the course. But once I get a clearer picture of some of the parts that I can share with everyone else on the 8-week SQL challenge, I'll definitely do that too. The plan is probably going to be, I'll give you some crazy data set and you have to figure out what indexes to use to get the query to run or different things like that. So hopefully that covers some of the deeper dive into some of the concepts. All right. Abe, that's awesome, man. Just started learning SQL this week. It's really, really valuable. Like I can't stress how much value there is in being able to do whatever you want with the data in this land. Okay, my cursor just jumped. Pooja, thank you so much. Danny, awesome. Thank you. Thank you as well. I can't explain in words how much your post and material helps me, especially looking forward to 8-week SQL challenge. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Adriano, my friend. So I know Adriano in real life in Sydney. So he's keen to apply these SQL skills to his job as a product manager, which is amazing, and help drive complex business decisions in a self-sufficient, data-driven way. Excellent. Adriano is a champion. He's a really cool guy. So thank you again for your support, man. All right. Henry, thank you for tuning in. I hope this video is, I hope this live stream is invaluable for some people as well. And hopefully it's not just me rambling and talking about, but thank you again so much for tuning in. Charlie, thanks for tuning in, man. Charlie's been with me since the start of the Data with Danny initiative. So he's been really supportive and really helping me out a lot. So thanks, man. All right, Jeet, would like to know more about SQL in data engineering. Okay, so I worked in data engineering probably for the last 1.5 years of my career before I moved into this teaching space. So data engineering and SQL go hand in hand. A lot of the times, even when we're using a lot of the, let's say we're using Spark, for example, a lot of the concepts that we use in Spark relate to how we would do the data as well directly in SQL. So some of these things might be like the partitioning strategy is really, really important when you're dealing with large data sets. Data engineering is, there's also an automation component about the engineering too. So I'm not sure if that is really covered in the SQL components of any of the different training materials. I know in Serious SQL, I really tried to give people a concept of historic versus snapshot data sets. So a lot of the times when we're dealing with data in an enterprise situation, we'll be getting transactions, or there might be historic data where different customer attributes are valid and then they get expired and updated at different points in time. So one of the ways that we really deal with that data is we have to be very smart about how we're joining, be careful about how we're filtering out for current records. If we want to look at some sort of analysis at a certain point in time, we have to make sure that all those data points line up and everything is valid at that point in time. But yeah, SQL can be used to do that as well. I think that's probably the number one tool that we'll be using within the data engineering space. So literally, even for a lot of the Spark jobs, we'll be using a Spark SQL pass through, and then we'll just have a SQL script, which is nice and easy to read, where data analysts and data scientists should be able to understand that, as opposed to reading low-level Spark Scala code. So it's very, very valuable. And even now, we're seeing a lot of the Spark jobs being migrated over into a cloud SQL environment. So where my friend Joe Reese in the States, we've been talking about how a lot of the clients that he's been working with have been asking for Spark, legacy Spark jobs to be translated into BigQuery, Google Cloud SQL stuff. So there's definitely a lot of space for SQL in data engineering. Really exciting space. All right. Satyajit, thank you so much. Don't worry about the off-topic comment. Anybody interested in joining a free live webinar on ML model deployment, please hit him up. Make sure you guys get onto that as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. All right. So Monica is amazing also. So anyone who's tuning in and wants to talk about SAS and SQL, please feel free to contact her and reach out to her as well. All right. So Sean, thank you so much for tuning in, man, from England. Awesome. What time is it over there? It must be around like midday or something. All right. So Ravit, camera. Okay. So for people who know me, who know me well, they know that I love my technology, and I'm always like watching some YouTube crazy camera review or something like that. So at the moment, I'm using my old Sony point and shoot camera, which I can connect directly into my computer. I think it's like the RX 100 or something, Mark III. But yeah, for anyone who's tuning in and they're thinking about doing more interviews and presenting and doing, even for web conferencing, and you're doing your Zoom calls, having good audio equipment and good camera equipment is really a game changer. Like there's rarely a chance where you can have an opportunity to literally sound better and look better than some of your peers or your competitors. So it's really something that people should take advantage of. Of course, there's a cost to it, and there's different things like that. So you have to be smart with the way that you're spending your money. But definitely, maybe I'll do something in the future where I can talk more about that, because it's something that I had to invest in myself, and just to do the research and everything. Okay. Abe, thank you so much for this question. Will the course go over how SQL is used in different careers in analytics? For example, I'm leaning towards a career as a business analyst. Definitely. I think for regardless of whether you're a business analyst, a data analyst, data scientist, and even a data engineer, a lot of the core concepts in SQL are very, very valuable, and I would say mandatory for all of these roles. I feel that, of course, different people think that, okay, data engineers are better at SQL than data scientists who are better than data analysts or whatever. Like, it doesn't really matter to me. I feel that all of these are just skills that people can pick up over time, and it really depends on what problems you want to solve with those skills. So my aim for the Serious SQL course is to, and for the 8-week SQL challenge, is to essentially give people a taste of all these different problems and how to apply different concepts to solve these problems. Because in my experience, the way that I learned through the years of using SQL, it was essentially, I have a new problem, I don't know how to solve it. How do I do this with the tools that I know? And what extensions do I have to go out and learn further so I can actually solve this problem? So hopefully this experience is the same for you guys when you're going through the Serious SQL course, as well as the 8-week SQL challenge. So thank you again, Abe, for the question. All right. Dustin, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm looking forward to it too. All right, Mr. Vex. Awesome. I did not know that Odd Job from James Bond movie series has his own YouTube channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Okay. So Ravit, please, thank you so much for recommending it to all of your friends, Ravit. Ravit is a legend, so anyone who's tuning in, please follow him as well. He's got a ton of good content coming out. Okay, Awais, thank you so much. Yeah, looking forward to having you on. That'll be awesome. All right, Al is joining Team Squirrel. And I think Abe, thanks so much for hooking Al up with this session as well. All right. So Vishwajit, is this recording available for later reference? Yes, 100% it will be. It's actually really difficult to find videos on LinkedIn. So please feel free to jump onto my YouTube. Just go to youtube.com/DannyMar. And I think that should be it. You'll be able to find it somewhere in there. I'll try and share a link somewhere in the description. I'll probably edit this live stream too. But yeah, LinkedIn needs to do something about their searchability of content. It's really difficult to find stuff. All right, Petri, I'm looking to build ways to build bridges with business leaders and AI. If you're interested, discuss. Drop me a DM. Yep, for sure. I've just been really busy. I hardly get a chance to talk to my friends as well these days. It's just been flat out working on everything. So I'll try and get in touch when I get a chance. All right, Sam, thank you for your question. With data analytics, if you're not in the finance industry, do you feel that having a high-level mathematics knowledge is required? Or does knowing the data relationship and identifying the trends still valuable in chasing this as a career path? All right, so a lot of people, I would say that a math knowledge is valuable. There's no doubt about that. I feel that sometimes it's overvalued, especially for entry-level roles. As we get more and more experienced working with different types of data and working in different domains and having the experience to solve different problems, the mathematical component only comes in if you need to solve it with a mathematical solution. So sometimes if let's say you're working on some very difficult optimization problem, you need to know the maths. Or if you're working on some A/B testing, you need to know the stats. So different, very unique and distinct problem areas require a lot more math than others. But for the majority of problems, I would say that being able to logically understand the problem and work backwards from what you need to deliver for your stakeholder or for the business or in some report or a dashboard, if you can work your way backwards from, okay, I need the data set to look like this, so then I can generate these charts and really step through the solution and then go look at all the different tables that I've got at my that I can use to build out the solution. How do all the tables interrelate with each other? How can I join them? Working through all these steps logically is much, much more valuable than having base level mathematical knowledge. And I truly believe in this. And for the Serious SQL course, I really go through a ton of reverse engineering and working backwards from a solution. And so hopefully that sounds interesting, but I think that math knowledge is important, but it's not going to be like a make it or break it sort of thing. It shouldn't be a deal breaker, especially for entry level roles. So if you're moving into a career as a data analyst, I think that just being able to understand data, trying to do the basic aggregations and really understanding what you're doing with the data and what problems you're solving is much, much more valuable than having like how do you do linear algebra or different things like that. So I hope that helps. Mr. Vex. Mr. Vex is back. Thank you for your comment about my mustache. Okay. Let's see. Oh, I just skipped through many comments. I'm really sorry. All right. So Charlie has a comment. Oh, Charlie is part of the Serious SQL gang as well. So Serious SQL is packed with invaluable content beyond SQL skills. It teaches you how to blend the art and science approach to some of the toughest data problems. Thank you so much for your feedback. It's really appreciate it. I really put in a ton of work into Serious SQL, and for the people who've supported me throughout this whole time, they know the struggle that I've gone through. So thank you again so much for that feedback. All right. I saw a few questions. I'm really sorry, but I kind of skipped through a ton of them. Okay, so Sumit, he's asking a question about the Hyper-V when installing Docker. So I actually just updated the Serious SQL, the course content to include a note about this one. So I think if as long as your processor is like an Intel i3 and above, or a Pentium, I forgot the actual number, but as long as it's a modern processor, it should be fine. It should have virtualization. We found that a few people didn't have that Hyper-V option, and they managed to still install Docker and everything was fine. So please feel free to go ahead. Sorry if you didn't receive my notification earlier, but I think I replied also. So I'll try and work harder to keep in touch with you. All right. Dominic, I really want to solve the first case study. Thank you so much. I'm working hard to try and get up the website for the 8-week SQL challenge and just start pumping out some questions for everyone to start working on. I'm also going to try and put in like a comment section so people can kind of discuss and do different things in there as well. But there's also the Slack channel is open for everyone to join. So it's part of the Data with Danny Slack channel. So before I forget, you can also do all of that at the 8-week SQL challenge.com before I change the domain to forward it to the actual website. So hopefully that helps. Robert, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for checking it out. Rahit, where to register? So yep, like I was saying, you can register. Just go to 8weeksequelchallenge.com, and the landing page should be there. So hopefully that's all working. If it's not working, let me know and I'll go in there and fix it straight away. All right. Tom, thank you so much for tagging Alex as well. Okay, Harsh, when does the SQL challenge start? So I originally wanted to start it today, but I've been a little bit behind in actually getting the website up and running. So I don't have an exact start date, but let's go for like, I don't know, 1st of May or something like that. But literally the 8-week SQL challenge doesn't really have an official start or an end date, because I feel people should be able to join it at any point in time. So the 8-week SQL challenge starts whenever you want to. So get out there, start working on some of the SQL stuff, share everything that you're learning with the community. You can use the hashtag 8-week SQL challenge on LinkedIn or on Twitter. I'm going to try and be retweeting or sharing those things again directly on the website too for the 8-week SQL challenge, so everyone can kind of see what's going on. On the Slack channel, people can share their posts as well, so you can get a bit more traction for whatever you're working on. So hope that helps. Abe, thank you so much for sharing the website as well. Yep, so the Data with Danny website is for the Serious SQL course and more about what I'm doing for the virtual data apprenticeship. So thank you so much for sharing that link. Yeah, hope you enjoy the website as well. All right, so Adash, looking forward to this. Awesome. Focusing on SQL is always the way to go. It's really, really useful. All right, Tawfiq, will we use PostgreSQL for demo during courses? Yes, so the Serious SQL course is all done in Postgres, using the Docker images and the Docker Compose to get everything up and running with minimal fuss. I found that a lot of other courses get you to install a database and you upload the data yourself and everything. I wanted to give people a bit more of a flexible solution. So then if I make any changes to the data sets or anything like that, I'll notify everyone, and then you can go in there and update your config, and then you'll get all the latest and greatest data updates for the course. So I think for the 8-week SQL challenge, I'll be providing maybe some CSV data sets and different things directly on the website. If there's a lot of demand for it, I can build some custom Docker images as well for people to use. But I selfishly wanted to keep it for the Serious SQL students only, but we'll see how it goes, because I feel that it's being able to use Docker is really, really important, and having this sort of exposure to it is almost the perfect way to start diving deeper. All right. Gaurav, thank you so much. Thank you, man. All right. So Brenna, thank you for your question. I'm a marketer and I'm over having to ask and wait for data that gets dumped days later anyway. Yes, I totally know where you're coming from. I think I've been on the other side of the fence where my managers told me their request can wait a few days. So, I'm really sorry on the behalf of all the data people who are making you wait for your data. Sometimes I feel that just anyone should have these skills to be able to deal with data. Like you hear about like data is the new oil, data scientist, sexiest job, blah, 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 all of that stuff. There's more and more data. Data is literally everywhere. These days, I think the core skills moving forward into the future will probably be some level of programming and being able to understand data, because there's just going to be a lot of stuff coming out. So as a marketer or anyone who's working in a traditionally non-technical field, to have those extra skills only makes you more and more valuable for your employee and for your employers and for other people who might want to work with you in the future. So definitely thank you so much for investing your time and energy into this. Okay. Manju, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your support as well. All right. Ravit, I love how Danny says data. Yeah, I literally, whenever I do a live stream, I say like data, and I just keep changing in between them all the time because I'm just a very confused Australian man. All right. So Adash, thank you for the question. SQL or NoSQL? Which one is the future? I think SQL is non-replaceable yet. So I'm not sure if you mean like NoSQL as in like no SQL at all, absolutely no SQL, or the NoSQL where it's not only SQL. That's also a thing too. So I really believe that SQL is going to be part of our future for at least the next 5 to 10 years until we all get automated away. Which may or may not happen as well. You hear these things about GPT-3 who are starting to automate some of their SQL queries. So you literally just say, I want sales over time for product for shaving cream or something like that. And then the GPT-3 will do some sort of magic and then spit you out a query which you can run directly on a database. So I think there are going to be new innovations like that which come out. So it becomes almost like a Jarvis / Iron Man sort of thing where he just asks different questions about stats that he can get. But having the ability to actually understand what's going on under the hood, being able to build some of those services, and also being able to go in and optimize for a lot of those things where they're working on some really large data sets is always going to be invaluable. I feel that the scale problem for some of these problems are not quite yet solved. So I think for the next 5-10 years, definitely SQL still the future. And I really believe everyone should be learning this. All right. Okay, so I'm going to keep going through. I don't know how far down I've missed some of the other questions, but Gaurav, can you please discuss about NoSQL, SQLite, Postgres, and other kinds of SQL? So one of the reasons why I chose PostgreSQL was I feel that it was one of the easier ones to set up all the infrastructure on using the Docker solution that I've chosen. Also, there's a lot of interplay with Postgres and the cloud. So it's officially supported on, I think, every single cloud. And there's just a lot of stuff that's going on. So I think the latest version is probably 13. My course is being done in 12 because it's a bit more stable, but a lot of the support and the language components and the syntax is actually shared across all the other flavors of SQL. So if you're going to be learning about, say, group bys and selecting and where filters and using an in versus not in and using like and different things like that, the way that they're used in a NoSQL or in a SQLite or a SQL Server or MySQL or different things like that, they're going to be quite similar. For some of the join performance and the optimizers, they might differ across different flavors of SQL. And also for things like, say, window functions, some of the defaults might be different across Postgres versus standard SQL, or anything that you're using for, let's say, Redshift SQL will be specific to AWS, and different things like that. So I feel that just getting a good grasp of some of the concepts which are really applicable across different flavors is going to be where you're going to get the most value. So that was my philosophy when I started building out the Serious SQL course. And I think I'm going to try and drive that for the 8-week SQL challenge as well. So yeah, hope that helps with that question. Sumit, I'm looking to switch my career into data analytics. How much SQL is required if I work as a data analyst? So if you are looking to move into a data analytics role, I would say the most important tools to understand is probably SQL will be probably number one, and it might be tied with Excel as well, depending on what sort of technology the companies that you are applying for are using. A lot of the times Excel is usually the first place to start. For me, I decided to teach SQL first because I personally don't really like Excel. A few people probably understand where I'm coming from as well. But I would say SQL is like 100% it's required for working as a data analyst. Even in some companies, if they're not using SQL yet, or if they've moved on from SQL and they're using something else, which probably is very, very rare, SQL knowledge and being able to almost like do problem solving in terms of SQL operations is more important than actually writing some of the SQL itself. So thinking through problems like, okay, I want to aggregate by this column and then look at the sum and look at the count and then do some sort of division and try and get some averages. All of those things, it's much easier to grasp as concepts when you're doing it in SQL, because I think that's almost naturally, that's where I was taught and learnt most of my data problem solving skill set. So hopefully that can be the same for a lot of people as well. All right. So Ravit, we can do the 8-week SQL challenge on the Ravit show at any point in time. Let me know. We can set it up. All right. Al, I still struggle to visualize joins, especially self joins. Yes, self joins are a little bit trickier to grasp as well, especially if you're joining it on one column to a different column, or if you're shifting the value of the column by one, so you can try and do some sort of hierarchical recursive sort of thing. In the Serious SQL course, I kind of reimagined how I would have learnt, or how I would teach myself joins now that I know what I've gone through for the past few years. So I tried to make it in a really visual, and kind of like I used like a lot of pastel colors and different things like that. And I have like an example where I was, I think Ben, Kate, Dave, and Eric are all members of the data set. You have to try and join them to exclude some of them for some reason. So hopefully that tutorial really helps. I might even share some of the visuals for the rest of the 8-week SQL community, 8-week SQL challenge community, because I find that I quite like the pastel colors, and hopefully it resonates with other people as well. But yeah, joins are probably one of the more difficult things. So it's funny because joins, a lot of people think that joins are really simple, like, oh, you just have to inner join or left join or whatever. But when you actually look at the data and the when you think of, okay, how do I deal with duplicates on one side of the join? What do I do if I only want data points from one table and I just need to check if it exists in another table? There are all these different ways that you can optimize your joins when you're thinking about some of the problems at a very low data level. Low as in you have to actually be able to understand what you're trying to do with your join. So I find that really, really it was challenging when I first started doing it, but over time I find it challenging in a good way now, because I have to deal with, okay, here's a new data set, I have to figure out exactly what's going on before I can join it and get on with my work. So yeah, really, really valuable to understand joins. Okay, Abe, is there a thing as SQL projects to post? And if so, where should one post SQL projects? So this was one of the big things that I wanted to tackle as well. So for people who've been watching me talk on live streams and different YouTube shows and different things like that, I'm always talking about, oh, we need every single data analyst or data scientist who's trying to get a job to actually have a project portfolio, so they can share that as a website or a web blog, or their GitHub to their prospective employers. So then they can kind of see what sort of technical skills you have, and you can prove that you can solve problems and be able to write a lot of the code. So for me, one of the most impactful things that I wanted to do was actually share some of my knowledge to how you should structure some of these projects, so then you can actually post them whether it's on a blog or in some of those websites. Like you could share it on Medium, for example, or share it on your own personal blog. But how do you write in a way where it's actually engaging and gets your point across, solves the problem, and demonstrates that you can write your code in a really eligible and neat way? I find that every time I'm viewing someone's resume for a new role or different things like that, and I see a GitHub link, I'll automatically click on it and take a look. And you get a ton of bonus points if straight away the experience is really great for the viewer. So I really wanted to focus on that component. So as part of the Serious SQL course, I teach people how to write Markdown documents. I have like a GitHub quick start guide, so you can kind of get in there and set up some of the access and start using GitHub from the command line as well. But yeah, I would say that there's definitely a thing for SQL projects. Even if it's the main thing is more that it should be a storytelling exercise, and kind of explaining, okay, here's the problem, here's what I have to do to solve the problem, and kind of almost do it in a teaching style where you're teaching the reader and demonstrating your knowledge by doing that teaching. So yeah, definitely a thing. All right. Okay. Owusu, thank you so much for tuning in. It's 2 p.m. in the UK. Yep, Sean, also 2:30 p.m. All right. So, Daniel. All right. My brother will start his first job in life tomorrow as a data analyst. Amazing. Mainly working with SQL. What is your best tip? My first tip would probably be, well, here's like a more radical approach. When I first started my first real job in data, I asked my senior data analyst to give me the most difficult piece of code that he's ever written. And I tried to figure it out without having any prior knowledge. That was pretty challenging. I think it took me like a week or something just to highlight all the different brackets and see where everything happened. Like I actually printed out the code on paper and used highlighter to try and match back the different things. So that was pretty crazy. But I think for your brother, Daniel, just tell him to smile and have a good time, get along with his new coworkers and just soak it all in. I think everyone has probably had the same experience working on their first job where they had no idea what the heck was going on. So I think if he's really keen to improve his skills, definitely tell him to jump onto this 8-week SQL challenge. And he can kind of get involved with the challenge as he's starting his new job as well, which might be a little bit challenging, but he can kind of bounce a few questions and ideas with some of the more experienced professionals in the community to see what they think about different things that he might be tackling at work. So definitely get involved with online communities and just get out there and have fun. That's what I would say. All right. Eric, wonderful discussion on stuff SQL. Yes, definitely. I just started learning Cypher and Neo4j's query language, and knowing SQL makes it much easier to pick up. So Neo4j is a graph database query stuff where you can kind of look at different stuff within the networking space. And yes, definitely. I feel that a lot of the times when I talk with my peers who have been working in the data space for a long time, the more we realize that, oh, we all were doing SQL for many, many years. And whenever we talk about different transformations to data sets, we usually revert back to, okay, we need to join this data set with this one on this sort of key and look at unique values and different things like that. And we would, even though we'd be implementing it in, let's say, Scala or Python or different things like that, we'd always still use the same verbs that we would be talking about SQL stuff with. So I find it really, really interesting. And for me, it's really helped to have a strong SQL base as I've picked up more languages. So throughout my career, I had to pick up Python, pick up R, pick up Scala, look at different things across the whole spectrum of the data space. So definitely I found that having that knowledge of being able to process data was really, really valuable for me. Okay. So Sumit, can you also guide on how to present yourself effectively and confidently? This one, I feel that there's like Tony Robbins probably has the same sort of course for like a few $1,000s or something. But I'm more than happy to. Originally, when I started building out the whole Data with Danny, the virtual apprenticeship thing and everything, I had grand ideas. I wanted to almost get people to come in and have like a one-on-one with me for like half an hour a month or something like that, just to interact with people and give them some advice on how their mannerisms are, or what their tonality when they're talking, their facial movements, and their all the different things, and body language if we were in person or something. But I realized that I just probably can't scale myself out to actually reach a few hundred people, even, because I just can't physically talk to 100 people for half an hour a month every month or something like that. So, but I really think that my number one tip for how to present yourself effectively and confidently, I would actually start filming yourself on camera, and pretending to answer, say, an interview question, or if you're doing a knowledge sharing session or different things like that, and just to start feeling more comfortable. These days, because it's a very extraordinary situation where a lot of us are at home talking to cameras, sometimes it's really daunting. I remember when I first did my first ever live stream around this time last year in May, I was like, I almost pooped my pants, because I was just like very, very nervous as I was talking to the camera, because I just wasn't used to it. But these days, every time I go to the camera, I just kind of feel like I'm just here to have fun. And I think just having that, I would say that it's not really so much confidence as in you're just doing the repetitions and you're more familiar with it. So definitely try and record yourself, and ask for feedback from people in the community. You can like share your videos and ask them like, oh, can you let me know what I can improve, and different things like that. I think that's really, really valuable. And you can even ask your family members to let you know what you think as well. All right. So Al, what is the optimal daily time commitment for this class for the 8 weeks? Okay, so I know everyone who's on here must be super, super busy. You're probably all getting after it because you're here watching and listening to this crazy Australian dude talk about SQL on your weekend. So you guys are amazing. And I think that everyone will have different time commitments and different things that they need to juggle with their life. So I would say as much time as you would like. There's nothing which is too much, and there's nothing which is too little. I know for Ken, for example, he's got his 66 days of data. He says the minimum of 5 minutes a day is awesome. So I'm more than happy for people, if they want to spend 5 minutes a day on SQL and they look at one of the SQL solutions and read through it, that's plenty enough if you've got a lot of stuff going on. So I would say even if you can't do it every day, you can tune in and just watch a video about SQL or different things on the run. That's more than enough. So for everyone who's tuning in and they're not sure if they can commit to the full 8 weeks, I would say don't worry about it. It's more about having the energy and the enthusiasm to say, I'm going to do this thing. I'm really tight on time, but I'm going to try my best. I think that's more than enough. So hopefully you can get involved with the communities and chat with other people and start posting on social media as well. I think that's really, really important. I really stress this for a lot of people that I meet with, that more and more, because we're more and more online, and it's really difficult to actually get your personality out there. How do you build your personal brand? How do you have this image of who you are, and how do you interact with people online is really, really important. So I would say if you're serious about networking and having a strong personal brand, an online brand that people can actually recognize you, and when you're doing stuff online, definitely start posting. I would say posting and reading and working on the SQL is equally important at this stage, especially if you're looking for a role sometime in the future. We've heard all these amazing stories of people landing roles purely because they've been on LinkedIn chatting with different people in the comments section. So yeah, it's really inspiring. So I would say there's no optimal daily time commitment. So as much as possible, I have a few different strategies. So for me, I have to work in like 90-minute blocks, because it takes me a long time to actually settle down and figure out what I'm doing within that time space. And then once I'm in that zone, I can kind of maintain it for about an hour or so before I get really tired mentally. I start scrolling on Facebook or something like that. So try and figure out how you best work. It can also be an experiment on trying to manage your time as well. So if you're trying to tackle the SQL challenge, you can also equally start being more aware about your energy levels throughout the day, and as well as how do you feel when you're actually working on these challenges. I think that's really important too. Okay. Okay. Imokai, thank you so much. Great to be here with you as well. Okay. Samit, super excited. I am super excited also. Aditya, where do I find these courses? So the Serious SQL course, you can hit up. I've got a banner here. So you can go to datawithdanny.com. That should have a lot of detail about the whole virtual apprenticeship program and different things that I'm working towards. And for the 8-week SQL challenge, you can hit up 8weeksequelchallenge.com. At the moment, it's just in holding. There's just a landing page where you can register. But in future, that's going to be probably the live blog where I'll be posting a lot more content and sharing some of the SQL solutions, and maybe more videos will be embedded there as well. So you can kind of all see it in one place. But yeah, hopefully that helps. Going through the rest of the comments here. Oh, Ravit has shared my YouTube. You can also go to youtube.com/Danny Ma, works as well. Ben Taylor, what a legend. He's online. Thank you so much for tuning in, man. Okay, Aditya. Okay, hopefully you've been sorted out now. Sorry it took me a while to get to your comment. All right, so every now and then the comments just move me down all over the place, and I can't remember where I am anymore. Okay, so Abe is asking, will integrating SQL with Tableau be covered? Unfortunately, I won't be able to do that because I don't have strong Tableau skills. But if people would like to volunteer and share their knowledge around that, I'm more than happy to facilitate something like that so we can really make it happen. Okay. So Harsh, will there be one challenge per day or one challenge per week? I would personally love to do one challenge a day, but I just don't think I can commit to something like that. So I'm going to be posting probably one challenge per week. I might even be doing the video walkthroughs like I was talking before. So I might just be talking through some of the coding solutions as well. Maybe live, maybe it'll be pre-recorded, I'm not too sure, but hopefully we'll just be doing one challenge per week. People can definitely share more problems. So in the Serious SQL course, I've actually got a support forum. So for anyone who's part of the Serious SQL course and they're working on a current problem that involves data in SQL, they can post their problem in there, and I'll try and get in there and help them out and figure out what needs to be done. That's actually going to be one of my main sources of new data sets that I might be able to turn into case studies for everyone else. So for a lot of the people who've been working with me for the past 6 months or so, where I've helped out with their interviews and assessments and different things, they've been sharing a lot of their data with me. And a lot of the case studies for the Serious SQL course, as well as these case studies that I'm going to be doing for the 8-week SQL challenge, are actually based off the data sets that we were working on. So it's really awesome for me because I love working with other people and helping them get that role or do really well with their interview and try and pitch their services or different things like that. So it's really rewarding to see people get amazing results off the back of it, but then also to have something for myself where then I can continue sharing with other people. So it's like a very virtuous cycle of good. Okay. Just going to remove this 8-week SQL thing. All right. I'm sorry if I've missed a few different questions here. Michelle has shared a link for the 8-week SQL challenge as well. Thank you so much. That one definitely works. I think I redirected the 8weeksequelchallenge.com to this one for now. So thank you so much for sharing that. Michelle, thank you again so much as well. Definitely needed a push to get deeper into SQL, and I love that Serious SQL has text videos, text lessons along with videos. So it's really funny actually because I was actually I started recording more of the videos for the Serious SQL course. So my philosophy when I was doing it was, or originally I wanted to create videos for every single tutorial. But when I was doing it, I just felt like it was really draining, and I was just repeating myself or reading through the thing that I already wrote for the text tutorial. So last night, literally, I was up until 4 a.m. recording some of these videos where I just kind of introduce the problem and give people a feel for, okay, here are the topics that we're going to be covering in this tutorial. Here are the things that you might want to keep in mind, and here are the challenges that we'll be focusing on. So people can really watch this 45 to 1 minute video and feel connected and um, have a better targeted focus for this tutorial. A lot of the times when we see like a textbook, for example, it's just a lot of text and there's no real connection with the author. For me, when I was writing the Serious SQL course, I really wanted it to be almost like a conversation between me writing the thing and you're reading exactly what I would be saying. And you can kind of have like a one-on-one conversation with the author. And then there's also a lot of there's Q&A sections. So if you have any questions, you can ask them straight away and I try and get back to you as soon as possible. I think I listed that I'll be up from like 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. every single day, Australian time, answering questions. So hopefully that's interesting for some people. And for me, I think having that access to the instructor or the teacher is super valuable. So I wanted to provide that sort of experience for everyone. All right. Poonam, how do we access these modules? So I think you're probably referring to the modules for the 8-week SQL challenge. So once I get my act together, I publish the website for the 8weeksequelchallenge.com. It's essentially going to be a live blog with all the different resources will be directly on there. So there might be posts about similar to Eric's posts on LinkedIn, where it's the top 10 free SQL learning resources where you can learn SQL for free. There'll also be specific case study questions that I'll be generating and building myself. Chances are I'll probably be doing some of that and extending it for the people in the Serious SQL course. So there's value in joining the course as well. But honestly, for me, I'd love to give away everything that I'm developing once I'm in a position where I can actually do that. Okay. So VJ, hello, where can we find recorded lectures of yours in the upcoming sessions? In case you miss anything, you're interested in computer vision, machine learning topics, and is SQL really necessary for me to learn? Okay, this is actually a really, really common question for people who are starting to move into the machine learning and the data science space. So surprisingly, there's almost this movement where people are saying that SQL is going to become irrelevant. You only need to know Python. You only need to know whatever. Machine learning is the only thing that you need to deal with. Personally, I kind of disagree with that. That's why I created the SQL course to begin with. But in my experience, for when you're doing some of the machine learning tasks, being able to generate the data yourself is very important. When we're doing enterprise and applied machine learning, 99 times out of 100, you won't actually get the data set as is, like we do in a Kaggle competition or different things like that. You'll have to generate it from some crazy database where you have to join 50 tables in some query or different things like that. And then you have to figure out how to sample properly and design your target variable or different things like that. How do you include all your features at the right time? And it gets really complex. And the best way to deal with that complexity in terms of the data processing is to be very good at SQL. This is probably just going to be the state of data for probably the next 5 to 10 years. And I don't see it going away anytime soon. So definitely SQL is very, very good investment of your time. And oftentimes when we see people applying for data science roles, we'd be expecting a level of SQL understanding, whether this is for a FANG company or for like top 500 companies or Fortune 500 companies would be similar because all of them have data in databases. So SQL is just the way that you access the data. So definitely I would focus on SQL. I'm just going to have a drink because I've been talking for an hour nonstop. All right. I'll probably keep going. Okay. Cindy, I'm also interested in the process of switching careers, and you're midway into bootcamp to start. Awesome. congratulations on joining that bootcamp. And thank you so much for discussing these. Yeah, SQL is something which doesn't really get discussed on LinkedIn. Like probably the only the champions of SQL is probably Eric and Dave, and I think Zach is also doing some stuff as well to try and promote more of the SQL stuff for data engineering. But yeah, honestly, SQL was the first data skill that I really dived into, or apart from Excel. I used to, during my university days, I used to teach Excel and VBA, but these days I can't remember any of it. So, but SQL is one of the things which has stuck with me from the day that I started in a data role to today. And it's something where you can continuously improve your skills. So hopefully I can share some of the best practices that I've picked up over time and help you solve some of those problems that you might encounter in the workplace. But yeah, good luck on the bootcamp as well, Cindy. Okay, Samit, can you tell me in brief how cross-join is useful? So a cross-join, for people who are not familiar with, is essentially let's say you've got two tables and you want a complete combination of every single row from both tables. You've got 5 rows in the left table and you've got 5 rows in the right table. When you do a cross-join, you'll have 25 rows in your new table where each row gets multiplied together. So cross joins are useful. There are very specific scenarios where they're useful. So if you actually need to make all these combinations for a specific time series or different things like that, where you want to do more joins afterwards, it's really useful. But it's really very difficult question to answer because there's just lots and lots of different use cases for cross joins. But usually we'll try and avoid them as much as possible because cross joins or Cartesian joins are relatively expensive in terms of computation. So we try and avoid them as much as possible. But sometimes you just can't avoid it as well. So yeah, but most cases we would say try a left join or an inner join instead. So if you have a very clear picture of what you need to do, and try to avoid jumping to cross joins as the very first thing that you want to do. Okay, George Furrican, less left joins. Maybe that's in response to Samit. Thanks for tuning in, George. All right, Joseph, how much time per week will we need to devote to finish the challenges? I think it really depends on your level of SQL knowledge. For me, I really enjoy making. So when I get my data sets from my friends who I help with their assessments and different things, I start looking at it and I help them with their problems. But in my mind, I'm always thinking, oh, this would be really cool if I made a question like this, and it could be super difficult and something like that. So it really depends on probably on how difficult the question is in general. So there are times where you might have a difficult question where even a seasoned SQL practitioner would take a lot of time to do it because there's just a lot of steps. So I would say that I don't really want to give like a rough number in case people feel bad or feel like they're not doing enough or different things like that. So I would say like as much time as people can devote to doing SQL and having a singular focus for this 8 weeks, I think that will be awesome, because I really think if you spend the time to focus on SQL, it's one of the best investments of anyone's time who's getting into their data career and want to kind of build from that also. So hopefully that helps. I didn't answer the question, unfortunately, but hope that helps at least for a few people who are tuning in. Michelle, thank you so much. Your SQL course is a steal with all the great tutorials inside. Thank you. Thank you very much. It means a lot to me to hear that, actually. I want to, for some people who know me, they originally, I actually didn't want to do online courses because I didn't want to have people pay for things which they can find for free online. There's nearly all of the teaching material and different things that you can learn, you can get from the documentation or different things like that. So I really had to struggle to get over that mental barrier just so I can really deliver something which is really unique and very unique to me and my experiences. So hopefully all of these tutorials have really helped, because my vision for the course was to really over deliver and give people like $1,000 worth of value for $29 or $49 or whatever the price was. So yeah, thank you so much. So for people who are tuning in as well, so if you go to datawithdanny.com, officially the Serious SQL, I think it's probably I can call it officially live now, or it's kind of still in a beta because I've got the last 2 tutorials to finish. I'm going to start doing the SQL challenges, but it's at the moment it's 95% done. I need to edit the videos and upload them and embed them into each of the tutorials, but at the moment, the Serious SQL is, I would say it's on sale during the beta phase. Once it's fully complete, I think on May the 1st, I'll be selling the Serious SQL course for $49 and $29 for students. If you'd like the student discount, please reach out to me. You can send me an email at support@datawithdanny.com, and I'll personally reply back to you with a special link that you can use for the student price. But from now until the 1st of May, it's still on sale for $29 and $19 for students. So I highly recommend people to get in there and don't miss out. For me, I'd love to give I'd love to give all of these things away for free, but I need to keep my finances in order as well. But yeah, hopefully people can take advantage of that. All right. So David, SQL projects. I once saw an entire project written using only SQL. It was a lottery simulator. Amazing. Yeah, there's a lot of people don't know that you can do random number simulation and sampling within SQL itself. And it's almost like a dark art. For me, when I was doing a lot of the machine learning tasks in one of my roles as a data scientist, I was doing a lot of my sampling using SQL to generate my target variables and different things like that, to look at non-deterministic time intervals and different things. So it's very, very useful for random numbers. Like you don't need to always be doing things in R or Python when you can have access to the database and you can do everything in an optimized manner there. All right. So Jeet, is SQL can be asynchronous itself, or asynchronization needs to be implemented within the entity code that is calling the SQL query? Okay, so this one's probably a good one. So asynchronous is essentially you can run multiple things and they just kind of run all at the same time, and it's not synchronous where you need to wait for something to finish and then get back the state and then continue with the next one. So most of my experience has probably just been dealing with SQL directly in one instance. So usually if we have a script, we'll just run one statement after another, after another, after another, and we kind of wait for everything. So it's more of a synchronous style. Usually that's the standard practice for a lot of the things. For anyone who knows more than me about the asynchronous stuff, my knowledge is probably thin in that area. I'm much more about using the SQL to solve lots of problems and looking at lots of data and different stuff like that. So hopefully someone can correct me if I've gotten that wrong. But hope that helps, Jeet. All right, Al, does it ever bother you that you pronounce data wrong? It's pronounced data. Is that how you guys pronounce it? Data? Okay, anyway. Yeah, Australians are kind of silly in general. Sorry, Australians. All right. Aishwarya, hopefully I have pronounced your name right. I got the SQL on day 1 and you love it. Yes, that's what we like to hear. Yeah, SQL I think it's really elegant in a way. It's just very natural. It's a very natural way to deal with data. And that's why I feel that a lot of people, sorry, Al. That's why I think a lot of people should actually start there with a little bit of Excel experience. That's good as well. All right. Oh, thank you, Michelle, for always recommending it. I think Snehal was asking any best course to suggest. Of course, I'm a little bit biased because I would suggest my own, but to hear other people recommending my course, that really means the world to me. So thank you so much. But if you go onto the 8-week SQL challenge.com website, once it's up and running, I'll be sharing not just my course, I'll be trying to share as much free resources on there as possible. So for people who followed me before, I share a ton of free Udemy resources and different random things that I find online. But specifically for the 8-week SQL challenge, I'll try and go through some of Eric's posts and steal some of his top recommended SQL resources to share with everyone else as well. But yeah, it should really help. And I think that literally you can take any course and it's all good. And you don't have to pay for things as well. The most important thing is just to get started and keep the momentum and keep learning new things every day. That's the most important thing. All right. So, okay, my thing just scrolled again. So Al with another comment, Vin Vashishta's recent video on branding and content creation has been amazing. Vin is a really good guy. I think he's talked with a lot of other people that I've talked with. So I'd love to jump on a session with him as well, because I've always respected him for a long time. He's been very big on LinkedIn from a few years ago. So when I was lurking on LinkedIn 2 or 3 years ago, I was probably reading Vin's posts and feeling motivated from them. So definitely give him a follow. All right. So Abe with an idea, SQL user group, similar to how Tableau has user groups. Probably. I don't know. I've used Tableau probably less than 5 times in my whole career. I'm not a big fan of clicking things. I'm much more of a programmer, technical type. So I think I've seen Tableau done really, really well. Like we worked with some amazing Tableau people who deployed their dashboards for us, which was really cool. Like we can help them with the design and get all the data points, and they were wizards with doing all the visualizations and making everything interactive. And I think Tableau is super valuable for that. So for people who are looking into data visualization tools, that's something definitely to look into. All right. VJ, where can we find? I feel that I covered this question already. Okay. Sorry if I was a little bit slow on answering. All right. And is it 8 weeks every day and at the same time? Unfortunately, I don't think I have the stamina to go live for this time every single day. I used to do weekly live streams as well, but sometimes I found for me, life just kind of got in the way. And I know for a lot of people, they can't really tune in for every week as well. So I'm going to try and at least release the SQL challenges every week. If I have extra time and I'm not busy updating stuff for the other stuff that I'm working on for Data with Danny and on my LinkedIn stuff, I'll try and do more videos as well, put them up on my YouTube. But I think for any SQL related videos and stuff, I'll definitely be sharing it on the 8weeksqlchallenge.com website. So hopefully that can be the place where everyone finds all their information without having to search LinkedIn posts and different things like that. All right. Dominic, thank you so much for your message, man. You helped me find the motivation to struggle with I struggle with saying statistics. So statistical inference. It's a really important topic. So there's the whole meme about the dude pushing a truck, and then there's like correlation does not equal causation sort of thing. And a lot of the times when we're dealing with data in data analytics and data science, we're looking at like correlation studies much more than causation. It's very difficult to actually link certain events causally to say, okay, event A actually caused event B because of XYZ. We're always doing some sort of, and that's where the inference kind of comes in, where we can look at these numbers and try and identify causal links between this thing actually caused sales to go up, and it wasn't because Elon Musk tweeted about Bitcoin or something like that, something crazy like that, which is, we call that like a spurious factor or different things like that. So yeah, thank you so much, Dominic. And statistical inference is really, really important. I'd love to try and focus a bit more on that in future courses that I'll be delivering. So thanks again, man. All right. Jody, answering Abe's question about Tableau. I'll leave you guys to it because I'm not a big Tableau person, but hopefully you guys can connect and talk more about it as well. Thank you so much for sharing your response, Jody. Okay. We're going 1 hour and 20 minutes. Thank you to everyone who's still live with me. This is really awesome. Thank you again so much for tuning in and spending your Sunday with me. Sunday is important time. You should be with your family and relaxing, but thank you again so much. Okay. Cindy, are your challenges beginner friendly? I would I can make them beginner friendly. I haven't finalized all of the challenges yet. I think maybe that's a really good idea. I can probably tag some of the challenges to kind of say, okay, this one is a beginner friendly, this one's for intermediate, and this one is for crazy people. So that might be something that I can take on. Good, really great feedback. I feel that for a lot of the challenges for beginners, oftentimes when you work with a lot of SQL, every challenge can become a beginner friendly one over time, depending on your experience. But at the beginning, everything will feel new. So even if it's a beginner challenge, it will still be challenging in that sense. So my tips would probably just be, if you're a beginner and you're taking the 8-week SQL challenge, just to be very mindful and be very kind to yourself, and don't feel too bad if you're really struggling with some of the topics. I was reading something recently this week where it was something about self-learning, but the author was saying how the most valuable part of any learning experience is the struggle. So just like a diamond gets created under pressure, when we're learning something new, which is challenging and challenges us to think differently and have different logical, cognitive like things that are going on within your brain and different things firing, it will take time and you'll struggle at the beginning. But that struggle is the most important part. So stick with it and work your way through it. Okay. Dominic, how advanced do I need to be in SQL to get a data analyst intern or a junior job? Let's see. It really depends. So I think I saw a post which was saying like, oh, we're hiring for an intern, but you need to have like a senior developer experience, but must be able to accept intern level pay, different things like that. So depending on who you ask. So some people, when they're looking for interns, they'll only look for the best of the best. If I would probably recommend avoiding them because they're probably a little bit crazy. But for a lot of people who are coming into the space, and I would say that probably up to the level of window functions is probably enough for SQL stuff. So you should be able to do selecting, filtering, group by aggregates, looking at joins, different types of joins. Maybe you know how to use views and materialize views and different things like that. And then the window functions to do more complex stuff like moving averages and all these different techniques I cover in a lot of depth in the Serious SQL course, but that would be the level that I think if you can actually do all of them and demonstrate that you understand that, for a junior job, that's a very compelling, very compelling experience for anyone to hire you. So definitely, you don't need to always you don't need to focus and get to that point straight away. SQL is a learning journey, just like everything else. So just take your time. But those are probably the guideposts that I would recommend. Okay. Akshata, could you please probably repeat how this 8-week SQL challenge works? So the 8-week SQL challenge is it's going to be mainly a social focused challenge. So you can feel free to start the 8-week SQL challenge at any point in time, but it's going to be very similar to the 100 days of code or Ken's 66 days of data, but with a very, very specific SQL focus. So there will be a Slack channel. So if you go to 8weeksqlchallenge.com, you can sign up and register for the challenge, and you'll be able to join the Data with Danny community. And there's a Slack group for that as well. And within the Slack group, we've got a dedicated channel for all things SQL. So the most important thing about the challenge is to actually start getting involved with the community. So start sharing what you're learning, share any of the problems that you're working on right now and you're struggling with and you need some support, or maybe you've got an idea and you're not quite sure if it's correct. Reach out to different people within the community. If you're brave and you want to start sharing on social media to start building your personal brand, definitely make a post about SQL, about your learning experience. use the hashtag 8-week SQL challenge. You can tag me at any point in time and I'll try and support you as much as possible. But it's all about having a very strong focus on SQL and also having a very strong focus on connecting with others and sharing what you're learning with others as well. So hopefully that helps. And in terms of the technical component, I'll be delivering weekly challenges. So this will be like weekly, let's call them case study, technical assessment style SQL challenges, which you might find in like a FANG style interview with some different data sets. Maybe I'll upload some CSVs that you can use as well, or different types of data sets. Maybe I'll do a Docker image. I'm not too sure. But people can get involved and start solving problems as part of the challenge. So hopefully that will help with a lot of the learning experience as well. And I'm also going to be sharing a lot of free resources in different places where you can learn SQL. So I've got my own Serious SQL course and I'm sponsoring, well, not sponsoring, but I'm kind of doing this whole 8-week SQL challenge thing. So definitely I'll recommend my thing to everyone, but I'm also going to be sharing a lot of other resources and other, essentially my competitors or people who are also delivering really great content in the SQL space. I'll share all of it and people can kind of talk about their experiences working with all of the different courses and then you can choose which one you'd like to go after. But the most important thing is just to get involved with the community and starting on the SQL stuff. All right. Abe, awesome connecting with Jody. Excellent. Sean has signed up, which is awesome. Okay, I think Abe, Sean, you guys should team up. Definitely should team up. Okay. I scrolled, but I kind of jumped through 10 different things. Okay, Channon is in the house, data professor. Everyone needs to follow him on YouTube and LinkedIn. He's dishing out some amazing content. Thank you so much for liking my pronunciation. I don't know how I'm going to pronounce it half the time anyway. So, all right. Oh, this is a good point. So LinkedIn user, for some reason, the LinkedIn is not working, but thank you, Danny. I think there is way too much. Go try and find whatever you don't know somewhere on Google. Research and assembly of the most useful material into cohesive frames by current practitioners alongside interaction opportunities is highly valuable. Yes, that's very well put. Probably in better words than whatever I can come up with for my rationale and the vision behind the 8-week SQL challenge. So this could be a call out to anyone else who wants to help me and volunteer to generate more ideas and different data sets and different problems to share with the community. Like it would be amazing if we can actually generate like the place that all of the data community on LinkedIn, on Twitter, or wherever on the internet, if they want to learn SQL, you go here. Like that would be amazing, like a goal for me, like a dream goal for me. But I really think that, especially for SQL, there's just not a lot of voices talking about it. Like unless you're following Eric is awesome. Unless you're following Dave, there's just not many of us talking about SQL, and it's really, really important. It's a very, very useful skill. So thank you again so much. Okay. Someone sharing a talk by Vin. Very, very good video. I've watched this one, so check it out. And Kamanya, have been following you, Eric, and Dave's posts. Yep. And they've helped immensely. Thanks for being out there and releasing this course. Looking forward to deep diving into the 8-week SQL challenge. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Yeah, thank you again so much. Very grateful. All right. Delilah, I hope I've pronounced your name. Don't worry, you can, I'm sorry it's gone on for so long as well. So for everyone who's tuning in, we've just hit 90 minutes, and thank you again so much for tuning in and listening into my rambling about SQL for 90 minutes. So hopefully it's been useful. I will probably just look at a few more questions and then I'm going to bounce because it's like 12:30 a.m. in Australia. So hopefully I can cover a few more things. But thank you again so much for sticking with me for the 90 minutes. I know Abe's been here for the whole 90 minutes, so thanks, man. and a ton of other people as well. So, all right. Okay. Are there any prerequisites for starting the 8-week course? So the course is not going to be 8 weeks. I can talk about the prerequisites for the Serious SQL course, but in terms of the prerequisites for the 8-week SQL challenge, there are absolutely no prerequisites. Just like the 8-week SQL, just like the Serious SQL course as well. For me, I really want everyone who wants to start their data career, SQL should be one of the main things that they should be focusing on. So for me, my vision was for the Serious SQL course, I really wanted to create a full end-to-end learning experience where I get to teach people exactly my style of SQL and how I learned, and some of the best practices that I've used over different roles and different problem spaces that have really helped me. And I wanted to share that experience directly with my students. But for the 8-week SQL challenge, definitely there shouldn't be any prerequisites at all. Some of the challenges might be a little bit difficult at the beginning if you've never used SQL before. So that's why we'll be providing a lot of free resources for people to get out there and start learning the basics for free, of course. So I'll keep an eye out for that. They'll all be on the 8weeksqlchallenge.com website. So hopefully I'll get my act together and get that out really quickly. All right. Dr. Delilah, idea for real estate developer business. I actually have a student in the Serious SQL course who, Mr. Eddie Lee, who used to be a real estate developer, a real estate agent in Hong Kong. So he's doing some awesome stuff there as well, but he's been taking the Serious SQL course and he's really enjoying it. And I think he's moving into like the Google AdWords space or Google marketing space, which is amazing. So kudos to that guy, legend. But I don't really have many ideas for the real estate. Hopefully others can help you within the community. So feel free to join in with your ideas if you've got any. Okay, Michelle, for which day will you post the challenge? So my vision is probably on around this time. So on a Sunday or maybe a Saturday or a Friday. So people have some time during the weekend to start tackling the problems. I think Friday is probably a good day. And then I might give it like another week for everyone to take a chance to tackle the problem. And then the week after, I might be following it up with some solutions, or maybe a solutions followed with a video walkthrough or something where I just talk through the solution that I've written in my own style. That might be useful. Hopefully that sounds okay. I'm very open to many other ideas as well. So as I'm doing these, I'll also be adding these case studies and probably more questions, more challenging questions to the Serious SQL course. So yeah, definitely check that out also. Okay. Akshata, definitely thank you for the free resources. No worries. All right. Abe, it's time. He's going to go fishing. So probably a great time I think that's probably a great time to finish up this live stream as well. So thank you again so much, everyone who's tuned in for this session. I'm really, really grateful that you've invested some of your time on your weekend to listen to me talk about Serious SQL and talk about the 8-week SQL challenge. For I guess the final takeaways would be join the 8-week SQL challenge at 8weeksqlchallenge.com. And if you're interested in joining the Data with Danny virtual data apprenticeship program and getting direct access to me to ask any questions about data and SQL, you can go to datawithdanny.com. Currently, I have my Serious SQL course on sale for $29 for the regular price and $19 for students. It's going to go up in price on May the 1st once all the content is finished. So please get in and don't miss out. I've really enjoyed interacting with everyone here in the live stream. Thank you again so much for participating and staying with me for the whole 90 minutes. It's been a really long stream, so thank you again so much. Can't wait to continue on with this 8-week SQL challenge. So watch out for more announcements from me. I'll be more active with my emails. I've been a little bit slack lately because I've just been too busy to send more emails to all the subscribers. But yeah, keep an eye out. Please check out my LinkedIn, Twitter, datawithdanny.com. If you like lame data jokes, I'll probably be posting more of them when I feel inspired in the morning. So thank you again so much, everyone, and have a lovely rest of the weekend. And thank you again. It's really been awesome tonight. Thanks so much, and see you soon.